Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for the segment, we have Nick Green, CEO of Thrive Market, a health-first membership for conscious living. Nick, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. And Nick, how do you define conscious living and how does the service work?
Yeah, so we're on a mission to make healthy and sustainable living easy, affordable, accessible to anybody. So in there is kind of the definition for conscious living. For us, that's about making healthier decisions for oneself, for one's family, for one's community, and then also for the planet. So really looking towards a more sustainable lifestyle. So there's a lot of different values that are wrapped up in that. What it means is slightly different, or in some cases significantly different for different people. But the big umbrella is trying to make better decisions for one's health, for the planet. And the way Thrive Market works and the way our mission has been advanced is through a membership model that enables individuals and households to get savings on delivered products that are kind of the best natural organic products that you'd find in a typical health food retailer, but delivered to your door at wholesale prices. So a lot of people have described us as Costco meets Whole Foods online. We take sort of the best natural organic products that you find in a health food retailer. We offer them at better prices. And then we create a platform that really enables people to find the right products for them, for their diets, for their lifestyle much more easily. And more recently, we've even become a brand in our own right. We've launched more than 500 Thrive Market branded products that are exclusive to our members, where we offer even more savings and really even innovate further to, for example, introduce regenerative products or products that are specific for very unique dietary attributes.
I'm glad you brought all of that up. And to your point, conscious living and sustainability, they're subjective terms. And I have to ask this is front and center for Americans, but let's talk about the impact of the highest inflation we've seen in 40 years and how it's impacting grocery and the consumer. Are you concerned that there could be a shift to private label? You had mentioned Thrive as private label, or are consumers dialing back on memberships in this environment? And to be fair, Nick, organic products are not as affordable as others, and we have to address the inflation question.
Yeah, look, I think the trend towards conscious living is a secular megatrend. It's been underway for decades at this point. It's only been accelerating. And these are changes in people's fundamental values and what they care about most. And so while in previous generations, people maybe looked at taste first on product, now they're looking for something that tastes good, but also is healthy for them and also is not bad for the environment, or better yet, is good for the environment. So I don't think that's going away. And I think what people are looking to do is, yes, in an inflationary environment, find savings, but within the parameters of their values. You don't just abandon your most fundamental values because there's inflation. And so, to your question about membership, it actually makes the membership like Thrive Market even more valuable, right? Our members get savings through the membership model. They pay a little bit up front, but then ongoing everyday low prices on these organic products, which to your point, traditionally are more expensive. And in an inflationary environment, people are even more keen to try to drive those savings. One of the things that we've been seeing is that as people are more attuned to the price they're paying for items, they're looking for ways to save that maybe they weren't as interested in before. One of those we've seen, over the last few months has been bulk buying. So we've done more themed events with our brands, allowing people to stock up on the products they really love at even bigger savings when they buy more. Just a couple of months ago, we introduced a new feature called tiered pricing, where we essentially enable people on every single, or call it 80% of the items in our catalog, to get additional savings as they add more items to their cart. So we're looking for creative ways to save. I think the consumers are as well. Membership at a core is one of those things. Bulk buying is another trend. But what I think for sure is not going to happen is that people are going to say, oh, now I don't care about healthy and organic. I'm going to go back to eating just junk food. They're going to want to fit these new values into a savings model that works in the inflationary environment.
Yeah, that's a great point that you make. And speaking of membership, members are up 2 times in the past 2 years, which falls in line with accelerated online pandemic trends. Nick, how are customers shifting to a blend of in real life and online grocery shopping as COVID precautions and restrictions are starting to wane?
Yeah, so I think what you saw over the last 2.5 years with the pandemic was two shifts. One was buying everything that you normally would have bought in person online more. And during the lockdowns entirely. And then you also saw a shift towards at-home consumption. So people basically buying more groceries as opposed to eating out at restaurants. That latter is going to shift back and normalize. And we're already seeing that, right? People are back going to restaurants. They're back starting to travel. And so you're seeing a normalization of the percentage of spend that people are, or households are having on their groceries. That online trend of the first trend, I think was part of was basically accelerating a secular trend that was already taking place. It is just more convenient to buy things online. You can get the items faster. And so the pandemic accelerated that secular trend. And while there's been some normalization back, a lot of that behavior, I think, has been very, very sticky. And with 2.5 years behind us, there's enough habit formation that I think that's really going to be a shift that is long term. And we're certainly seeing that. We had massive growth in our membership. But interestingly, we're seeing retention on those members at or above what we saw pre-COVID. So our cohorts that came in during COVID, they purchased more during COVID, they're continuing to purchase at elevated levels, and they're retaining or renewing their memberships at similar or even higher levels than members before. So we think that online behavior is going to be sticky. And interestingly, back to conscious consumption, we also believe that the pandemic accelerated a lot of those values as well. Before the pandemic, some people were thinking about their health. When the pandemic started, everybody had to think about their health. And I think people also, as they saw the world, in many ways struggling and all these different dynamics with the pandemic, people also became more focused on, the health of their communities and the health of the planet. So we believe it actually accelerated that trend as well towards more conscious consumption. And of course, we sit at the intersection of this accelerating online consumption and the accelerating focus on conscious consumers.
Yeah, I would agree with you by not abandoning your values. Like, remember at the start of the pandemic, we were traveling so much for work and you grabbed whatever you could on the go. Even if you're trying to eat healthy, it's not the same as cooking at home and being diligent and disciplined with meal preparation. And I'm definitely more aware of it now that we're starting to go back to the office and starting to travel again. So you are right when it comes to not abandoning those values and putting your health first. So Nick, to wrap up here, how can environmentally sustainable operating models really unlock that flywheel effect?
Well, I think the flywheel effect is accelerated by demand. And I think as these natural shifts take place in what people are prioritizing, you are going to see more brands shifting towards more conscious forms of sourcing, supply chain management. The way they market will start to be more focused on those types of attributes. And that creates a feedback loop where consumers now have more options for healthier and more sustainable products. As they become more educated, they learn more, they want more. And, we've seen that already in the last 20 years, where first it was buying things that were natural, and then people wanted non-GMO, and then they wanted organic, and now they're shifting towards regenerative. So I think there's this escalating awareness among consumers, which drives expanding demand. On the cost side, what's really interesting, and we've certainly seen in our business, is that the more demand that's out there, the more scale that we have as a business, that the industry has, that some of these supply chains have, the more costs actually come down. So while we're seeing this acute inflation right now, secularly we've been seeing deflationary pressures on a lot of these supply chains over the last 7, 10, 15 years. So all of that creates a flywheel effect where we're able to offer the products at great prices. We're able to do more innovation, and particularly online with our membership model and with our focus on conscious living, we're able to just accelerate all of those pathways. And when it comes to our own brand, even more so, we're able to increase speed to market, deliver more innovative products, use the data that we have from our members to provide products that are, whether it's gluten-free or it's keto-friendly or it's regenerative agriculture or it's single sourced or it's BIPOC and women-owned brands. All of these things we're able to do in a way that traditional grocery hasn't, and at a speed that it certainly hasn't. So we're super excited for where it goes, and we do think that flywheel is already rolling, and we're seeing the feedback in our growth and in the happy members who are renewing every year.
Right. I do have one more question for you. Explain to us, what's regenerative food products?
That is a great question. So if organic is basically not doing damage to the soil by not using pesticides, for example. Regenerative goes one more step further and says, hey, we actually want to regenerate topsoil, sequester carbon, and be net carbon negative. So be taking carbon out of the atmosphere. So if you think about sort of organic gets you to a do no harm standard, regenerative agriculture goes one step further to say, hey, we've already done so much harm. We actually want to undo some of that harm over time. And this is one of the biggest trends we are seeing in supply chains, in our brand partners who are moving towards more regenerative practices. And then, like I said, from the consumer side, where 5 years ago, regenerative wasn't even in the vocabulary. Now people are, at least like you did, asking what the definition is. And many of them are now familiar with what it is and actually acting to try to buy products that are regeneratively produced.
Have to check that out. Nick, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks for having me.